Unity of Houston is an inclusive church where we seek to understand and live the teachings of Jesus and other spiritual masters. At Unity, we welcome all people from all spiritual paths and every walk of life. We celebrate the diversity of our city and of our world, and we teach love, tolerance, and oneness, seeking to live in harmony with open minds and open hearts.
Wherever you are in your spiritual path, you are always welcome at Unity. Join us and discover that the life of your dreams is already within you.
Wow. So good to be back in your energy. This is a very special place in all of Houston. I hope you realize that. Great things happen here, have happened through the years. It's a centennial year. It's been 100 years, and they continue to happen here under the fine, quality, powerful leadership of Reverend Michael Gott. Thank you, Michael, for saying yes. And Diane, you could not be more deserving. Man, I just applaud you in having to support me, which was a big job through these many years. And you did it so admirably and beautifully and so gracefully. So thank you for, and I know we all appreciate the job she did standing by my side and delivering all the talents that she did through the different areas of this ministry. So great to be here again. This is home for me, and you are all beautiful people. I love each and every one of you. Many of you, of course, I do know. There are many, or perhaps a lot of you that are new and don't know me, and so I'm looking forward to our sharing, at least today. I hope you enjoy. My title is The Role of Spiritual Discovery, and before I get into that, I just want to tell you about an incident that happened some years ago at the opening of the Texas State Legislature here in Austin, not here, but in Austin, Texas, okay? This really happened, and this was a prayer that was Reverend Williams, a Methodist minister, was asked to come give the opening prayer at the state legislature. And so it was recorded. This is what he began with. Dear God, should one of these stand to ask this body to take an action that would be solely beneficial to themselves or the narrow interests they serve to the detriment of all of the people of Texas, we pray that you would strike them mute. Strip them naked and turn them into a statue of stone to be permanently displayed for all to see the folly of their actions. Just kidding, Lord, but we did get their attention. And then he went on to a nice prayer. That actually happened. I don't know what went through their minds, the legislature, but in any event. Now that I have your attention, hopefully, I wanted to get it because there is a message from God that I am going to share. It's a brief message, and it is to be taken in into the depths of your being. Let it be a powerful deepening for you. This is what God has shared for you today. You are my greatest miracle. I gave you powers unknown to any other creature in the universe. I gave you the power to think, the power to love, to laugh, to imagine. I gave you the power to choose. Use wisely your power of choice. Choose to love, choose to laugh, to praise, choose to give, choose to grow, to pray, choose to live. Never demean yourself again. You are capable of great wonders. Proclaim your rarity. So if you take nothing else home today, take that with you. That was actually from the late good friend of mine, Og Mandino, wonderful author. He wrote The Greatest Salesman in the World, but he also wrote The Greatest Miracle in the World, and that was from a chapter called The God Memorandum. It's a memorandum to all of us. We should take it to heart. The role of spiritual discovery in this life is one of recognizing we're here to grow and to learn and to evolve and to give ourselves permission to do that, to choose to use the power of choice and to choose to live this life fully. It is a gift. It is precious. It is sacred. And the choices we make are so important. And we should never really ever forget this role that we have been given, the gift that we have accepted here on earth. Spirit will lead you as you make the choices, as you engage with that which is of your higher nature, your higher self. It is always there. It only wants to be asked. It only wants to be acknowledged. It wants to be your friend on an ongoing, continual basis. Ask it what to choose, moment to moment, thought by thought, for that is part of our growth. So part of what we are here to discover, of course, is the truth that was there to set us free, and that is a lot to learn, of course, but it has to do with things that have permanency. Truth has permanency. It will be always. It is constant. It is unchanging. There are many things here in this three-dimensional world that will come and go. Your thoughts will come and go. Thoughts and feelings will come and go. But there is a part of you and a dimension of you that will always be. And that's what we want to tune into. It is your higher self and your true self. The ultimate purpose of life is to love and to experience joy and peace. These are the natural qualities of the nature of God, and therefore God is in you, and therefore that's what you're meant to be experiencing. There are many things that have gotten in the way of that through the conditioning of this world. We have been in the world and we've been of it, as opposed to being in the world and not of it. So we have to look at part of our growth, where the choices have been being made. You see, what it is we have identified that has nothing to do with our true identity. That's a process, that's learning, that's growing, that's unfolding. And so the ultimate purpose, however, that we're all here for is to become one with God. And in oneness with God, we become one with truth, we become one with love, we become one with that which we are held to be in the mind of God, that which you were created to be. But we have free will, so we have choice. Use it properly. There's a part of us that is Lewis and Clarking our way into expansive living. It is our nature to continue to want to discover more of the truth of what is inherent in us and to release the things that have gotten in the way. So, you know, I want to share a little bit about my path of discovery in life. I grew up in Wisconsin, in a small town, a suburb of Milwaukee. My father was a blue-collar worker. He was always able to provide, but it was tough going. The first 10 years of my mom and dad's life, we lived in a 3-room flat on the second story of a building that below was a tavern. And so from late afternoon into the night hours, there would be music and loud voices that would funnel through up into our flat. And that was the way it was for 10 years. And when I turned 6, because my brother was 4 years older than me and he was born there. When I turned 6, after having lived the first 6 years or slept the first 6 years in a crib, because that's all we could afford, we finally moved into a new home on the outskirts of town. And for the first time, having grown up in this tavern, I didn't grow up in the tavern, but my mom kept me out of there. But having had kind of a confined experience of in-town living, I now was in this home where our backyard backed up against a woods, a forest that went on for miles. And you can imagine, as a young boy, the discovery now of the frogs at night that would just roar through my window from a pond nearby, the birds in the morning, the crickets at night, the wildlife, the playing through the woods, having tree forts. It was a whole other world of discovery that was so powerful and meaningful. It was fun to discover that. And then in my 20s, I had another discovery bug bite me. And it was in my early 20s. And basically, I had really never been outside of Wisconsin. Basically one car trip to Florida and back. But I hadn't been west of the Mississippi. And I'd heard the beauty of this great land that existed. I wanted to discover it, experience it, not just hear about it, not just see pictures of it, but I wanted to be there and feel the vibration of the life that God had created in the Grand Canyon and the redwoods and the many, many parks and things. So anyway, I had that desire. So about that time, and this is in the I think the late 60s, if I remember correctly, there was a TV series that was on weekly, and it was called Then Came Bronson. Anyone, raise your hand if, I mean, no dates, that's all. You're all right. You remember then? He was a motorcyclist, right? And this guy would motor into town on his motorcycle, free as a bird, free as a bird. And he would you know, get to know the community in a particular time. He'd pull into town and he'd maybe meet somebody there or a few people, and they might invite him out to the house and have a few meals, or they might find, you know, I need somebody to work on this. It'll only take 3 weeks. He might bring in the harvest if it was harvest time. But it was all kind of west of this Mississippi in the Southwest on his cycle. And there was a storyline that went with it, but it was so adventuresome. So I decided I was going to do that. I really did. And so I wanted to experience the God of everywhere and the God of everything. I wanted to go and experience the lakes, the streams, the waterfalls, the mountains that I had never been in the presence of, the redwoods, the many, many beautiful sights that God had created. And so that was my pursuit. And I was going to go it alone. But I knew my family would not be in favor of that. I was going to do it for about a year, is what I said to myself. You know, I can only do it like this at this time. So I worked on a friend of mine to have each buy a motorcycle. And, you know, for a while he thought I was crazy, but then I was getting him closer, and then finally he said, no, it's not going to happen. I can't do it. So by that time I had met my lovely wife, Diane, and I had married. And I had now plans of going to ministerial school. And so about 6 months before we were to go to ministerial school, my wife was willing to join me in kind of a reduced version of Then Came Bronson. Yes, it was an adventure. And so what we did is we bought an Econoline Ford van, and then we I put a hitch on it, and then bought a fold-out tent trailer that was really cheap, only $300. All it was keep you out of the rain. There was nothing in there, place to sleep. And then I went out and bought a brand new Honda 360. Okay, we created a ramp so the cycle could go up into the Econoline van. We had a couple arms welded on, came out and secured it for travel. So from there, we went for a month and a half. And we went down to Texas and then west all through the South and then Nevada and California, Oregon. It was 14 or 15 states we went to. We saw the state parks and all the beauty. And we would pull into a place, a camp place, and we would set up our tent. And then we'd pull out that motorcycle. And then I'd put my motorcycle mama on the back. Diane, tell him this was heaven. And we would motor through these beautiful parks, and we put over 70 miles in Yellowstone Park alone, and we had well over 9,000 miles that we traveled all west of the Mississippi. It was great, and it was a prelude of discovery. You know, all that we discovered in the beauty and the felt God everywhere touch us, sleeping by a stream and waking up along the redwoods, and just on and on. But it was a prelude to what was next in my adventure, because I was now entering ministerial school. So the adventure would continue now into truth and spiritual principles and going deeper into discoveries about myself, about life, about God. Because basically we're peeling away layers, people. We peel away layers to the degree that we're willing to be present in the moment and experience. We can learn a lot about stuff and fill our mind, but ultimately it's discovery through experience. Okay, and that's important to always know on your road as well. And so the role of discovery is something that is built into all of us. You know, scientists, astronomers, archaeologists, spiritual masters, they're all searching and digging and unfolding and creating something that they may not have known before, but they know exists, and they're in the search. And there's something in all of us that has us being called to uncover a truth of the real who and what we are. And that's a process of growth that we have assigned or signed onto in coming into this life, and never underestimate the sacredness of that gift that you have taken on. Our true nature is that of God, which is love and joy and peace. Now, those aren't just words. We are meant to have the experience of being that and removing everything that stands in the way of that. And so we grow by certainly connecting more to Source and allowing Source to dominate and flow through us again and again. And so you're doing that by being here and being part of a community that has that mission and that intent, and that's powerful. The past is all the mind knows. And so we have to begin to transcend the mind. So all you have ever learned or known is the mind. It can offer you and recorded every experience and issue and thing that you went through. But ultimately, the only way to experience is to be in the moment and to be basically in the heart. The flowering of the heart is a key to spiritual progress. The mind is a tool that is intended to be in service of the heart. Okay? So you mentally should continually to look to the heart, where true intelligence lies. And that's where God speaks. Truth comes through the heart, not through the head. Okay? But you can think continually to be taken into the heart. And basically, when the mind is quieted from its endless chatter and commentary of history and the past, then the intelligence of the heart is able to flower. And it's in the moment. And so mind basically is a measurement. It's an instrument of measurement. And the mind basically generates logic, but heart delivers the truth. And if you realize when you have an issue and you overreact to something, that's your mind, that's your history, that's your past, that's an unhealed issue. But when you respond, that's your heart. And so the more we get into the heart, the more we are into responding as opposed to reacting. So we're not a product of our history and our past. That's a process of growth and unfoldment. That's a process of self-discovery, of noticing. And actually, there are 3 ways to quiet the mind. And one of them is meditation. It gives us a focus. So we keep going back to the focus, and the mind begins to stop intruding and quiet down. Another is by learning to observe, to be in the witness, where you're observing your mind. You closely watch your mind, and when you do, you begin to choose, and you're separate, and you do this in a friendly way. The mind is not the enemy. The mind is a very good thing, okay? It's how you direct it, but it's to notice, oh, that thought is really not the truth of me. Oh, that thought has to do with a fear from my past, okay? And the more you notice it and call it to consciousness, the weaker it becomes. Just understand that. The third is the way that you quiet the mind is by fully being in the moment, the present moment, intensely aware of what is happening. Get what I'm saying? So you're experiencing something for the first time. You go to the Grand Canyon for the first time and you're going, oh my God, this is incredible. It's so incredible. So a year later you bring a friend along and you're there, but you're saying, when we were here last time, we parked over there, and then I had my aunt along, actually, and she was just so scared of getting near the cliff, and, all of a sudden there's commentary, and the second time, because we've been there, is history. The mind takes us out of the experience. It happens a lot in our lives. Happens a lot. So thought is necessary, certainly. It's a part of life. It needs to be directed and controlled, however. It helps us create. Take charge, be in the moment with it. So learn to let the heart rule over the mind. There's a story of a little boy. There's a mom that wrote this article about, they were on the farm and it was in a drought and they were losing their crops. And anyway, she noticed looking out the window, her little boy was cupping his hands and kind of walking slowly towards the woods. 20 minutes later, she saw him doing the same thing. So she came out and followed him, kind of snuck behind, realized that he had about 2 or 3 tablespoons of water cupped in his hands. And when she looked from the edge of the woods in their backyard, he went in just far enough, and there were a buck and a doe standing out, motionless, a ways out. And then in the foreground before that, as he got bent down, the little 6-year-old Billy was letting a fawn that was basically close to dying from dehydration and heat exhaustion, letting this little fawn's head come up and lap the water out of this cupped hands. And then he would run back. And because he had gotten in trouble, because he had left the spigot on at the house, they had turned off the spigot, water to it. So the only way he could get water was he would turn it wide open, and there was just enough in there that it would be drip, drip, drip. And he would wait there in the sun for 10 and 15 minutes to get another 2 or 3 tablespoons and take it. And so his mother saw this, and she went and got a bowl and put some water in it, and just was so touched by her heart, and watched him then take the bowl to this little fawn and let it revive its life. She stood at the edge of the woods and she cried. She cried because she was so touched and moved by her little boy, who was so much locked into the heart that he wanted to help, he wanted to give life, he wanted to do what was natural, which was live from the heart and do the right thing. He had not become conditioned to anything that would take him away from the heart. And so as the tears were coming down her face, she began to notice that there were other droplets joining it. And she hadn't realized that in the midst of all this happening, clouds had moved in and it had begun to rain. And she said in writing it, now some will think it was a coincidence and some will think, well, it has to rain sometime. But she said, I felt like it was tears of pride from God, who was moved by the heart of my little boy. And when it rained hard that day, that very day, and it saved our farm. So the mind can usurp the heart, and we are not to let it. We are to let the heart usurp the mind. Stay in your heart. Know the truth of who you are. You see, most of our attention goes to outer things. So we live in a three-dimensional world. We're innocent. We don't make anyone wrong. We don't judge ourselves. We don't judge others. We don't judge what's going on in our mind. We just notice. It's very important. And so there is a part of us that has been conditioned by the past, as I've said several times. And one of the stories that has stuck with me through the years is a long time ago, a buddy of mine told me an incident that happened that he was at because it made such an impact on him. And it basically was he was going to a dinner show, and the entertainment at the show, and he and a group of buddies, I think they were in their 20s at the time. And the show was a hypnotist, and the hypnotist would bring people from the audience. And so the group of guys that were buddies got together, and there was one of them that was just horribly shy and just an introvert. And well, anyway, they volunteered him to be on the stage, as good buddies would do, and so anyway, he went up on stage and he said it was really interesting. He was asked a few questions, and he was just kind of, not there mumbling, and asked him to say something about something he believed strongly in, an interest. And he kind of mumbled a couple sentences and then said, okay. And from there he began to hypnotize him and give him a few suggestions. That he was calm and he was poised and he was capable and he had something to say and whatever it was. And then he said, go to the mic and now tell us about that which you feel strongly about. And so he did. And he spoke with such power and such presence and eye contact, articulate, and his buddies' mouths just dropped open. When that was all done, the hypnotist then said to the audience, I did not hypnotize this young man. I dehypnotized him. The real him is what just came out and what you just saw. The real, authentic him that was always there and inside. I just got to help him move the things that were in the way. That's in all of us, our true, authentic being that is meant to be in love and peace and joy, which is our nature because we are children of God. And so there is the part of us that has been hypnotized, if you will, but there's another part of us that has not been conditioned. And you can call it the pure, unconditioned self of you, okay? And I wish, we tap into that part of ourselves when we come here. This is such a special place. This is a centennial year, 100 years, needs to live on for hundreds more, really, because it helps people. It helps awaken them and peel away the things that stand in the way of their true nature. And people, if I had all the cards and letters and notes and things and conversations of people who said, Howard, first time I came to your church, to this church, it's not mine, it's yours, actually. That was a misnomer. The first time I came to this church, I cried uncontrollably. And he said, it wasn't your bad message. But I heard that from so many people the first time they came, and then some who said for weeks, I couldn't get through a service without crying. And some honestly said for months. I had a person come through the line today who said, I still cry, and I've been attending for years. And that's a beautiful thing, because actually you're tapping into a part of yourself that is like, I'm so happy to be home in myself. There's a part that you've peeled away that maybe didn't love yourself or accept yourself or was locked into some story of your history. And you finally allowed yourself to be embraced, not only by the people here, by its message, but by your own being, to embrace the real you. Now Moses, was told when he was called to lead the people from bondage to freedom, he asked, who should I say sent me? And he was told by God in conversation, and this is very sacred and mystical, tell them, I am that I am sent you. And then the next sentence is, tell them, I am sent you. So it's the I am. And that is my name forever. And what you need to know is that is the name of God in you. The indwelling God is I am. No one else can say I am. And where you direct your I am needs to always be in reflection of the truth, because that's what you are. That's a very powerful and important thing. We can't overlook it. And Jesus took this on, and over he used the I am statement. And he said, before Abraham was, I am. Meaning, this is not just me. The I am that is in me was in and existed before in Abraham and those before. And it's not just me, it's in everyone. And when he said, I am the way, and I am the truth, and I am the shepherd, and I am the door, I think translators left off is, because it makes more sense. It's more sense to say, I am is the door. I am is the way. I am is the truth. I am is the life. I am is the beginning and the end. I am is the resurrection and the life. I am is with you always. Be still and know the I am that lives in you. Very important. Now I close with telling you three things about the I am and God's statement. Start by saying I am and saying it over and over to yourself and getting into the I am part of you, which is the pure unconditioned self. Okay? Close your eyes if you have to. And then from there, determine what the that is. The that can be freedom. It can be healing. It can be love. I am that. I am love. I am joy. I'm prosperity. I'm healed. I'm goodness. I'm capable. I'm love. Whatever it may be, that's the that. Choose and decide and make that yours. The second I am that I am, is an exclamation. I am that. I am freedom. I am prosperity. I am love. I am. You get the energy of the second I am, don't forget it. Don't forget it, because God knows that there's the mind that intrudes, and that slams the door on the mind, and in the moment says, I am. The I am that you will always be and forever. And so, life is discovery. It's discovering the spiritual truth about you and life. It is about quieting the mind, flowering the heart. It is about discovering your true self. It's about discovering to choose and choose rightly. Hunger and thirst after righteousness, which is right choosing. Never demean yourself again. Proclaim your rarity. You are all divine. God bless you all. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for watching this message today. I'd like to invite you to join us in person here on campus at Unity of Houston for Sunday morning or Wednesday evening services. If you can't be with us here on our campus, you can still join us live on Facebook or on our website, unityhouston.org, Sunday mornings at 11 a.m. Central.